Hello, everybody. So, I'm King Gideon, and this is my queen. Hey, can you show everyone your belly? Oh, wow. She's so pregnant. What's happening right now is that I'm trying to record, and she's like, come play with me. Come play with me. So I told her, she's usually camera shy. She's usually very camera shy. So I tell her, like, Kaya, are you sure you want this to happen? This is all random, everybody. She's dancing this wonderful music, some wonderful Korean music I don't understand. She does not care right now if I show this to the whole world. Bye-bye. So recently, I've watched some very interesting podcasts and YouTube videos from very disgruntled, disenfranchised second gen. And I want to talk about it because I find it fascinating. By the way, I want to be sensitive about the pain that a lot of these second gen have been through, and maybe some who are currently going through some certain pain and trauma and stuff like that. Is this video supposed to outreach and hopefully get those people to come back and stuff? No. If anything, I want this video to be educational for people who do believe in true parents, do believe in God, and are seeking a way out to find a way to raise their children to not fall into certain traps. And the thing is, I was so fascinated by listening to these podcasts and, again, YouTube videos, and it was educational. So what it does is that it exposes the weakness of what blessed central families have been through. I can't really say anything personally bad about these people. Like, oh man, these people, they're weak. They they weren't faithful enough or stuff like that. No, I'm not coming from that environment because I grew up differently. I grew up from an entirely different spectrum than they did. What is the spectrum, you may ask? But I thought we grew up in the same faith, and I thought we grew up. Yes, we did, but it's the give and take environment that I had compared to a lot of them. The difference is that they were raised in church. They're church kids. Their parents offered them to the altar of church, in which, by the way, I understand the much older second gen who are like 40s by now or in their late 30s, where, true father did put a heavy demand for parents to just go on the mission and sacrifice their kids. I get it. And you know what? I was blessed to not have been part of that generation to experience that kind of pain from my parents. I was very blessed. Okay. But as time went on, where finally Father was revealing, all right, everybody, like we are in a new age, right? Especially with the unity of Gorbachev and the unity of Kim Il-sung, right? Making peace with his enemies, just like how Jacob made peace with his enemy Esau. This is where home church started to come out. This is where tribal messiahship started to come out. This is where building families was way more focused, to the point where Father was even like, we got to tear down church. We got to destroy church. We got to put down church. In which, by the way, I'm not anti-church. I'm not hating on church and stuff like that. Heck, I work for Sanctuary Church, okay? I give lectures over there, and stuff like that. So it's not that, we have to abolish church per se. I mean, Father used that type of language. But the point is, providence is not centered on church anymore. Providence is centered on families. Okay, in which, by the way, I have to give so much credit to Hyungjanim, which I would call second king, who is the successor and heir of true father. Why? Because he has really shown the way of how it's like to do home church. I could make a video about that, of just the building blocks of how he was doing home church. He's really exploring tribal messiahship, in which, he's using the biblical language, the Christian language of kings and queens. Okay, that we have to be kings and queens of our tribes, right? Father was saying this. So parents, our first gen parents a lot of them were still stuck in church, stuck in that environment where they relied on church to raise up their children. We're finally, that age has passed. And that's something that I was really blessed with by my own parents. My parents got out of that in the 90s. Not by any, ideal means. We have a very interesting story. But it so happened, that's my point. It so happened that my family started to do home church, okay? And in a way, kind of doing tribal messiahship. I mean, my parents haven't blessed people yet, or at least my mom tried. But anyway, so I felt like that was the way that helped build me and my brother's faith. In which, by the way, I remember talking to a friend of mine here in this community, and he asked me, like, how's you and your brother's faith? And, I'm like, hey, me and my brothers, we all believe in true parents. Now, is one of our faiths a little bit, levels of faith a little bit different from others? Sure, but nonetheless, we still believe in God and true parents. And my friend in this community was like, wow, yeah, that's amazing, because most families, not all their kids believe in God and true parents. Like, either one of them or half of them do, but or even all of them just don't. But that's really rare in your case. And that's the thing. I think unbeknownst to me and even my parents is that they didn't all offer me and my brothers to the altar of church, in which a lot of these second gen who are disenfranchised, who left the church, left the cult, in which, by the way, I'm not even going to say leave the faith. You got to own that, okay? You have to own faith. You can't just be given faith. Father needed to destroy church, okay? Because Providence wasn't centered on that anymore. It's centered on the blessed families. Again, I believe that church is for people with like-minded understanding, right, who adhere to the same ideology, will come in faith, right, in church, at least pray for one another, maybe make some connections that of faith or of other means, right, listening to the word, okay? It's also a place for sick people who are sick physically or spiritually, who need prayer or who need guidance, right? But the point is, it shouldn't be the complete guiding force where you just send your kids out there and you don't have any responsibility of your kids. That was a huge problem with a lot of Blessed Central families. And here's the thing, church isn't perfect. It's filled with imperfect people. You're gonna be bound to experience pain or disappointment if you expect church to raise your children. And that's the thing. Here's the thing about, the more I'm trying to get into farming, okay? And the more I'm understanding about farming, the more I understand that this is what happens when you give something more power than what it should have. A lot of parents gave up their own sovereignty of their children and offered it to church. Which, by the way, church is not going to be perfect, okay? Am I saying that church is, in church environment, it shouldn't lecture or teach faith? No, I'm not saying that it shouldn't. But again, parents should be the subject of your child's faith, and that's what happened with my parents. It's not only until I was in freshman year, that's when I was more into church. I was like, hey, Dad, I like to learn from other people. I like to go to workshops. Because my dad had a huge pride in teaching his children Hunduke, and they're just going to listen to me. I feel that I would lose myself if some other man taught my children, right? He had that attitude. He had that pride. which I'm happy that he had that. Is it perfect? Is it ideal? No, but I'm happy that he had that. But here's the thing, is that when parents give church too much power, what ends up happening is that now you're forcing church to be in the position of managers, that they have to manage these kids. They have to manage, other adults or maybe young adults, and doing the best that they can. And if you give them too much power, there's going to be a lot of people who are bounded by corruption and greed. That's what's going to happen. So, a lot of these disenfranchised second gen who, saw corruption for themselves and experienced it, right? I'm not going to say, oh, you're wrong. I'm going to defend like Love and Life Ministries, or I'm going to defend, a church in general. You know what? It's imperfect. It's imperfect. Where I come from a place is a place of ownership where your parents, your family takes care of its own and takes care of the community around it without the centralization of church. So, is it church's fault? I could always say, oh yeah, it's church's fault and blah, 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 church. I think whose fault it is? I think it's our fault. I think it's Blessed Central Family's fault that we didn't take enough ownership in our lives of our own children, in which, by the way, I'm going to have a child soon, so I'm thinking this too. This is like really important for me to think about, and this is why it's really important to talk about, because I think I'm going to go a similar way like what my parents did. And I'm learned so much from Hyungjanim on how to take ownership of your family, of how to take ownership of your community. And it's something that I feel that I want to strive for. Is it easy? No. It's going to be very tough. But at least it's not bounded by the centralization of church, and it's stepping up to the plate to be a king in your household and to be a co-king with other kings in your community. I'm very happy that a lot of these second gen, again, I'm not going to agree with them a lot of things. And heck, if they watch this video, they're probably going to be like, kid, you're dumb, you're stupid, I hate you. Look, I'm always bound to make enemies, okay? If it were face to face, I maybe I might talk smack to them. But if I just hear their testimony of how they grew up, that's something I can't really get mad at. It's like that's their heartfelt testimony. And some of the things that they experience is legitimate. It's valid. It's like, yeah, dude, if I were in your position, I could understand getting angry at the church. I could understand even getting angry at, Father, as far as the understanding that I'm given. So this is very interesting. I'm happy about this. And I think this is something that we can talk about on how to build blessed central families. And I'm on the road too. I'm not perfect myself. And my family, who has done home church, we had a very interesting history, and I think I want to share that with a lot of you. Why is it that I seem very hateful of the activity of homosexuality? Why do I seem very hateful of socialism and communism? Is it just I'm just taught it, and I just just regurgitate things? No, you know what I came from? That came from home church with my parents, where we didn't have so much knowledge of these things. As a matter of fact, we kind of actually got caught up in some of these liberal things and saw the result for ourselves, and we're like, this is a bad conclusion. This is evil. This is wow. It was so much more evident. I was just a child, just growing up in some liberal ideology that I saw for myself. This is wicked stuff as I got older. So I'm not just regurgitating things that, and this is the power of doing home church. This is the power of getting out of church per se, and experiencing the world. A lot of people think I live in a bubble. No, I have not lived in a bubble. I live with all sorts of different types of people, not just from church. It's fascinating. And, so this is the power of home church, where you get to explore the world and see things for yourself, and from the understanding of the divine principle, from the understanding of your Father's words, from the understanding of the Bible, things become so much more clear and evident. So I think I'm going to make more videos, more so about home church with my family, how it came to be, and how I came to a lot of truths that I come to, and the faith that I have faith in God and true parents, that true father. I didn't have this faith where I believe in true father because of church. No, I had it because of my own personal experience that I put effort in with the heartfelt prayer and devotion that my parents had in raising me up. And I own this faith. I'm not just doing it because, oh, I'm just following my parents, or, oh, I just want to please them. No, I felt the heart of God, and I felt the heart of true father, and I felt the heart of Jesus. And it's just like, I want to own this. I felt this love that they have for me. They saved my life. They saved my life. So I want to share this with you. And I hope that this could be very educational and awesome. And I hope many of you could also share, down in the comments below that, what, some of you maybe didn't grow up in church like I did. Maybe some of you also did home church, and you could share too. And for those of you who are haters, you know what? You could comment too. And as long as, I would appreciate if you don't say stupid ad hominems and actually, say logical, detailed things of where you come from, because it's educational. And it's something that we could all build up on. You're going to change my mind about your father's teachings and the Bible? No, you're not. But I can understand the failures of what Blessed Central families have done to their kids. And that's something I could learn from. And that's something I could build up on for my children, in which, by the way, I thank you. So, I hope we have a great journey, and I'll see you soon. Peace. Okay.